Look who it is. Hello, everyone. Hello, everybody. Are you ready to see the new place? I'll be honest though, as you can see, there's not much to really show. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Slightly different camera setup. Still a pretty plain wall behind me. It's a work in progress. I'm still not fully moved in yet. But yes, didn't do a qualifying stream this weekend because we're moving, but we're in the new place now. How are we doing, everyone? Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Nog. Hello, Chopsticks. Hello, Shadow, Bradshaw, Hank, Daisy, Ingrid, Follow, Finley, Rasco, Cam, Eclipse, Larts, Arslan, Daniel, LCGF1, good to see you, mate. Sinner, Toyo, Shannon, Jack, Maxim. Hello, everyone. How we doing? Yeah, didn't get to do the quali stream, but I did still watch. Well, no. So I didn't watch quali, unfortunately, but I did manage to stay off Twitter so that I could watch the highlights and not know what was happening. So that was nice, I guess. But I did get to see the race. Me and Hannah watched the race here yesterday, which was fun. So, is my mic a bit loud? I'm going to just move it away from my mouth a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. And that's why I wasn't on backseat driver either for Veloce, because we were moving. But I did watch the race. And, well, first of all, first question, what are we rating it out of 10? Because I've seen a lot of people say it was boring, and I've seen a lot of people say it was alright. I don't think I've heard anyone say it was amazing, because it wasn't. But what are we rating it out of 10, people? Talk to me. What are we saying out of 10? 6, 7, 6, 7, 6 and 6s and 7s. So a lot of 6s and 7s. The odd 4. Yeah. So it's about probably a 6.5, I'd say. The average from what the chat's telling me, right? Which I probably think is... it's one of them that, like, if you're actually doing a proper kind of, like, 10 is perfect and 0 is the worst race of all time, it's probably maybe I'd probably say 6. I think I'll give it a 6. It's one of them that the strategy, if you can appreciate the strategy there's a lot of things you can appreciate in Formula 1. You can appreciate the driver's personalities. You can appreciate wheel-to-wheel racing. You can appreciate the technology. You can appreciate the strategy. And this was a strategy race, wasn't it? Thank you, Bodwheat, for the 40-somethings. 7 because of how boring Barcelona usually is. It is usually pretty boring, to be fair. And Cole, thank you for the 5 as he does. I think if Perez is up in the top 4 and splits the Mercs, Max has a better chance at the W. Cole, we will get onto that, mate. That is a good point, though. That is a good point. We will get onto that. Don't worry. That's that specific point I want to talk about in detail today in terms of the Red Bull effect. But yeah, I'd give it a 6. I'll give it a 6. As Barcelona goes, it's pretty good. But again, like, when you're saying like 5 is a bang average race, and like, you know, the worst Barcelona race is probably like a 2. You know what I mean? It was good. It was good. But anyway, first thing we're going to do. Hello, Freddie, mate. Good to see you. First, Jacob, Tommo on the kickoff. I mean, hopefully, one day. I'll thank you, Sam Jarvis, as well, for the 5 Aussie dollars. Giving a 6 purely for Danny Rick showing his improvements and the nice track battle between Hamilton and Verstappen. That's the thing. There were good pockets of battles. There was like Charles holding up Bottas. There was Ricciardo holding up Perez. There was the strategy at the top. There was Mick Schumacher had a bit of a madness. There was, Alonso holding off loads of people towards the end. That was pretty fun. It was all right. It was decent. But anyway, first of all, we got to get into my driver of the... Well, I've not gone with driver of the day. I've changed it up. So I'm going to do driver of the weekend because driver of the day is implying just the race. But I'd rather try and take into account everything. So their whole performance throughout. Obviously, practice sessions aren't as critical on this, but qualifying. And because the thing is, I think qualifying is such a big deal at Catalonia because it's so hard to overtake. So if you had a poor qualifying, that did reflect in your race pace. So what are we saying? Driver of the weekend, not just Sunday. Obviously, Sunday is the biggest part because that's where the points are, but taking into account qualifying as well. Who is your driver of the weekend? Now, in terms of, obviously, Lewis won the race, so he's got to be up there. I think put Max up there. I mean, Max didn't qualify, qualified second. Difficult. Daniel had a good race. Pierre had a very good comeback through. Charles qualified fourth, finished fourth. Okay. My driver of the weekend is the suspense. The suspense. I forgot I had this over there as well. It's Charlie, of course. It's Charlie. For me, it's Charlie. The fact that he's put that Ferrari P4, the fact that he jumped Bottas as well, and kept Bottas behind him for a long time. And I know it's difficult. You need about 2 seconds pace differential. About a 2 second differential to make a move cleanly. I've gone with Charles. Just throughout the weekend, what did he do? He did nothing wrong. It's literally like the perfect weekend. And he's extracting everything out of that car. I don't think you could ask much more from Charles. Incredibly impressive. That Ferrari seems to be picking up the pace. I wanted to say Albon. I mean, that would have been nice, but we all know how that went. So yeah, I've gone with Charlie. I mean, what did he do wrong? And the Ferrari is starting to get better. Like, he said it himself, like he's actually starting to feel a bit more comfortable in that car and actually enjoying driving it. Obviously, we know it's lacking still relative to the Red Bull and the Mercedes, but like McLaren, Ferrari, I feel like Ferrari are in a stronger position moving forward now to get third in the constructors. I hope McLaren really put up, but that's going to be a battle. That is going to be a battle. But anyway, on to struggle of the weekend. Now again, look, we could always put Mazepin because he struggles most weekends. But this is, I should add a caveat. This is always excluding Mazepin because it's just a no-brainer. Who do we think struggle of the weekend? Now, what I'm trying to, when I say this is in terms of an individual driver performance, a driver who struggled particularly. What are we thinking? So we've got Vettel, Tsunoda. See, I haven't put Tsunoda purely because I know he had a bad qualifying session, but it wasn't his fault. His engine blew up. I'm trying to think like who. It's difficult, isn't it, to like separate the driver from the problems with the machinery. And that's why I feel bad. Like, I can't really, as much as like Giovinazzi had a 35-second pit stop, I'd feel bad like going in on him. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of Tsunodas. But for me, in terms of the individual who I think struggled the most this weekend, I've gone with Sergio. Poor qualifying. I know he said he had shoulder issues, which, I mean, I don't doubt that for a second. But at the same time, qualified it in 8th, which, let's be real, like, Max is the same. It's the same as last year. When Alex was qualifying P8, he gets slammed for it. And rightly so. Qualified P8, only able to spend most of the race stuck behind a McLaren. He's in a Red Bull. It was the same with Alex last year. It was the same with Pierre before then. If you're in a Red Bull, but what I think we'll talk more deep into this later, but this definitely opens up some really interesting questions, because exactly as you mentioned, Hank, the fact that Sergio wasn't up there to it be in that gap that Mercedes could pit into meant that probably Max lost that race because of the flexibility that Mercedes had. But anyway, we'll go deeper into that in a bit. But anyway, what about team of the weekend? Finally, team of the weekend. What are we saying? What are we saying? Karan, yes, he went to P5 in a Red Bull. Like, I'm sorry, we wouldn't be if Alex went from P8 to P5, no one would be praising him. We'd still be saying it was a struggle because you're in the second fastest car. Arguably the joint fastest car now. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, team of the weekend. A lot of Ferraris, Mercedes. Saw an Alpine in there. Alpine was tricky, wasn't it? Good quality pace, but they're right. The one stop, man. One stop did him over. All right. My team of the weekend is Mercedes. Of course it is. Qualify P1. And it was the strategy call that won them the race. That's the thing. Look, we can always say, oh, well, what if Max had come straight in and, reacted to the Mercedes pit stop, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, Mercedes did what they did in Hungary 2019. I know that's been mentioned a billion times now. Oh, it's very much like Hungary 2019. Yes, we know. Thank you. But that's the difference. And you look now like, we're 4 races in now, and Red Bull there's been small opportunities where, whether it's Max slightly exceeding track limits, whether it's a poor pit stop yesterday, there's lots of these little things that in 4 races arguably have got in the way of them having more points. And Mercedes, I don't think, my forehead is so shiny. Look how shiny this is, man. I've got to live with this, mate. It's a joke. Like, Mercedes don't make those mistakes. I mean, of course they do, but not often. This is why Hockenheim was such a big deal in 2019, wasn't it? It's like, that was 2019, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. That was such a big deal because that never happens, but it did. Red Bull, those mistakes are just creeping in, It's like KSI's forehead. Mine's shinier than JJ's. But also I'm a pasty white boy. So, but anyway. So obviously these were the results. Lewis from Max. Bottas. I should flip this camera some, but because I've got my camera there, I've got my laptop here now and there. So I've kind of changed it a bit. Let me go through. Anyone? Well, no, we'll come back to the results at the end. I've got my little talking points that I've got set up. So, think we'll ever see a double DNF from Merck? I don't. Hello, Hicksy. Good to see you, mate. I don't. I really don't. Not for a while, anyway. But anyway, back to the start. Squarespace moisturiser. I tell you what, that was a phenomenal send from Max. Max had a great... Red Bull have definitely sorted out their starts this year. They were terrible off the line last year, weren't they? Both of them. Terrible off the line. And I'm drinking Coke I never usually have Coke, but I fancied one. Don't do it. Ruins your teeth. That was a quality move. And it was like, Lewis, it was fair. Like, he had the space, he took it, Lewis got out of it. Played the long game, still ended up winning the race. But that was Max is on it. Max is on it this year, which we want to see. But this is what I mean. I think he's getting the best out of Lewis. and Lewis is getting the best out of him. We've got two drivers now who are like top of their game. It's almost a bit sad that Lewis is probably not a lot, like whether he retires next year or like we haven't got him for the long term like we do Max. I mean, I know I'm sure some of you like have had enough of Lewis already because he's been doing so well for so long. But what I'm saying is these battles, you know, I'm sure Charles will step up. I'm sure Lando will step up and give those battles moving forward. George, Daniel, all that. But it was on the edge. But you know what I mean? Like he went for the move. The space was there. He took the space and shut the door on Lewis, and that's fine. Hello, Whitehead 13. Hello. Quality move at the start. Loved it. Beautiful thing. And then Charles jumps Valtteri, which, look, I obviously, like, I'm not a racing driver. I'm guessing around that long kind of right-hander. I imagine there's more kind of rubber on the outside, maybe, because Charles just seemed so much more confident. Maybe he just had more temperature in his tyres, because sometimes Mercedes struggle a bit with tyre temperature, but he just seemed to just drive around Valtteri. And that was such a integral move. Like, Charles getting that move done, just slammed the door shut on Valtteri, being able to get up there and support Lewis. Not that he needed to in the end, but Bottas got the dirty air, got stuck behind. We know the Mercedes isn't... Well, we say we know this. The Mercedes... Look, I'm just going to be real here. Like, when we say the Mercedes can't overtake, right, because it's not designed to overtake, and, you know, it's designed to lead from the front. What we actually mean is that Valtteri can't overtake in the Mercedes. Lewis can, but Valtteri can't seem to. And look, I don't want to be too harsh on Valtteri, right? Because at the end of the day, we're comparing him to Lewis Hamilton, who's arguably, and I'm not saying he is, arguably the greatest of all time. Certainly in the conversation. So obviously, a good driver like Valtteri Bottas you can't expect him to be at that level. And it's one of them that when your teammate's so good, whether it's like a Rubens Barrichello alongside Michael Schumacher, you know what I mean? Like, when your teammate's so good, you know what I mean? Mate, I'm not a Bottas hater. I'm just calling it as I see it, all right? I'm just calling it as I see it, okay? Okay? He's done nothing to suggest that he's at Lewis's level, which you can't blame him for, because, like, come on. Thank you, Owen, for the fiver, mate. Max didn't put a foot wrong. It's a shame they screwed the pit stop and got done by Max strategy. Hoping for a Max World Championship off the channel. Keep it up. Thank you, Owen. Yeah, Max didn't put a foot wrong this race, did he? It was the strategy side of things, which is why Mercedes are the team of the weekend, because it wasn't even Lewis that won. Like, Lewis obviously did what he needed to do, but Mercedes put him in, gave him that, you know, that they played that opportunity off against Red Bull. You know what I mean? But anyway, whatever. That was a great move from Charles, and that, because Charles ended up finishing, like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was like 20, 25 seconds up the road from P5. So I think, you know what I mean, like, it is a great result for Charles, and just, again, for Valtteri, like, I know it's 4 races of 23 and there's still time, but this championships already seems to be running away with Max and Lewis, and Valtteri's kind of getting left behind. Yeah, peak. But anyway, on to the next point. Ricciardo. Now, it's difficult, this one. So, Danny Rick, I think, was up there for me for driver of the weekend. When you considering he's in this new piece of machinery, and we know because again, people jump to conclusions too early. Like, now Danny Rick is 3-1 in qualifying against Lando, so 3-1 up. and now it's 3-1 to Lando in race, which is obviously what matters more. But Ricciardo is obviously able to extract pace from that McLaren. It's just the consistency and getting dialed in and getting super comfortable, because Lando's been in that car this is his 3rd season in that car now. But I think he did an amazing job to hold up Checo as well. Obviously, we know the Red Bull is the faster car. We know the Red Bull has a higher ceiling. Right, this is what I want to talk about now. Now, okay, let me. So, at Sakir last year, George Russell, right, jumped from Williams into a Mercedes and straight away almost puts it on pole, like misses out by Bottas by a whisker. And this is a man, Valtteri Bottas, who I rate over 1 lap. Like, in terms of qualifying, he's way closer to Lewis than he is in race pace, I think. So, there's that. Russell can jump straight into that Mercedes and go quick straight away and be on par with, like, you know, Valtteri, who's a very good driver. But we're comparing to Lewis, okay? And that's where we're comparing to Verstappen as well, because Verstappen's quality. The fact that Perez, who we know is quality, right? Undoubtedly, Perez is quality, okay? We know this. And we know it can take time to adjust for that. But the fact that Sergio is not, like, doing a massively better job at the minute, he is doing a better job, I think, already, than Alex and Pierre did previously. But to me, like, it is already, like, how can Sergio jump in that car and that gap to Max still be so big? Because there must be a fun. Well, the question is it just that Max is just so, like, even better than we actually are giving him credit for? He's just taken this car, which isn't as good as the Mercedes, and making it look as good. Like, is that just Max? Or is there a fundamental problem with one side of the garage? Thank you, Brady, for the $7.99. It's something to commend with McLaren's 100%. It's a good point as well. McLaren are the only team to get all double points this year. That's regarding Daniel Ricciardo's bit. There's people forgetting this with Daniel's start. That's true. As much as Daniel hasn't scored as many points as Lando in the race, he has always been in the points. But anyway, you know what I mean? So it's like, obviously Perez is getting used to that car, but the pace still isn't really that near Max. Like, I reckon in quali, Checo's within 0.3, which is where they always wanted Alex to be, and Alex couldn't get there consistently enough. I think Perez is closer in quali for sure. But we've had 4 races, and you know what I mean? It's difficult. And this is what I mean. Like, Sergio is quality. We know he's quality. So for me, this is what I was saying about Sergio anyways. Like, him coming into Red Bull, he's kind of got nothing to lose because he's already proven how good a driver he is. The fact that George can jump into a Mercedes and straight away be, like, top tier quick, and 3 drivers now have gone into that Red Bull and aren't really. I mean, I know Perez almost put it on pole at Imola, but again, you've got to take into account Max had a bad lap. Lando got his deleted. Lando, I think, would have been ahead of him. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a shorter lap, and Perez, you know, stuck in a pretty decent lap as well. But I just think that Red Bull have got a lot to answer for, and I know it's only 4 races, so you can't like get ahead. But at the same time, like, There's no smoke without fire. And the fact that this continues to happen, and we know how good. That's the thing. Like, there was always question marks around Gasly because he'd done well at Toro Rosso and then he came in with poor. Obviously, we know now Gasly's quality. Alex did all right in the Toro Rosso. Not like he was about on par. I think the points. I think Kvyat might have had a couple more points actually. So Alex wasn't like a proven. Like, neither of them two drivers when they were at Red Bull were proven talents at that time. But Sergio is. Max did have a bad lap, Karan. He literally said it. Go back and watch. He literally said, I had a bad lap. So, you know what I'm saying? And this is what I mean. Like, Perez spun in quali, didn't he? And then he ended up P8. But this is what I mean. Like, this is not because... you can't put that on. I don't think you can put that on Sergio now. You can put that on the fact that this car is just. But that's what I mean. It's so weird because these are all professionals. These they all know what they're doing. Yet Max is able to extract this otherworldly performance from the car, and from the same package, all these drivers can't, and it's very weird. It's very weird. Draco Rosso, thank you for the $5 USD, mate. Verstappen has been taking Red Bull in the wrong technical for years and no one's calling it out. Everyone is too busy simping for Max. I mean, it's still because, look, Max is quality. And obviously, if you've got this driver who is so good, and you can see, and he won his first race at 18, and like you can understand why Red Bull are gonna, prioritize developing that car in a certain way, but it's just strange to me. I don't understand it. I'm not a racing driver. I don't have the knowledge to really understand these things, to be honest. I'm just another fan with an opinion. But anyway, Sean McCambridge, thank you for the £2, mate. Ocon 4, Alonso 0. He is in contention for the Merc. Yeah, has Ocon beaten Alonso? Yeah, he has, hasn't he, every race? I mean, again, Alonso's getting used to the car, so I think, as much as I did say, didn't I? I was like, by the end of the year, Ocon will be ahead of Alonso, and everyone was like, you're delusional, you're stupid, fuck you, Tommo. I just spat everywhere, lovely. Well, 4 races in, I am correct so far, but look, of course, like, it's going to take a bit more time for Alonso to get comfortable in that car. I do think it will be close. Thank you, Youssef, for the $5. Red Bull would definitely win the championship with this car if Danny Rick was still with them. That's the weird thing, isn't it? So did Danny Rick leave a curse on that car when he left? Because Ricciardo could extract the performance. But that's what's so, Ricciardo was close to Max. Max was quicker, but Ricciardo was close. And Ricciardo then goes to Renault, struggles for the first year to get used to that car, does really well in his second year, and then he goes to McLaren, and again, relative to all of the drivers who are in new machinery this year, Danny has been struggling more than most, I think, is fair to say. I think Sainz, for me, has been the quickest to get up to speed. And I think, Seb struggled, although the Aston Martin just seems a bit poor anyway. Alonso's actually done quite well. Ricciardo, I think, has struggled more than a lot of the others. Yet he can drive that Red Bull. You know what I mean? It's very strange. Thank you, Joe, as well for the $5. It'd be interesting to see someone like Bottas in the Red Bull as a true comparison to Mercedes without Max and his talent. Because that's what we'll never know. We will never know how much his driver and how much his car. We'll never know. We can try and guess and try and compare relative performances, but we'll never know. Daniel, thank you for the $2, mate. Max is an early breaker, the key to that Red Bull. I mean, he proved that up the first corner, didn't he? Didn't he? Can we talk about that FIA Toto radio graphic? Yeah, that's quick. Did everyone see that? when Toto's telling Mazepin to get out. Well, he's telling Michael Massey to get Mazepin out of the way. I mean, this man, I don't want to talk about him, to be honest. I don't want to talk about him. All right, anyway, right, let's go to next point. Bottas needs another sauna. Yes, Will, mate. One stopper's struggle. Now, because a lot of people were saying beforehand, weren't they, that the one stop was going to be the way. But all the one stoppers seemed to struggle. Like Russell was looking good, Alonso was looking good, and then they just couldn't get enough time. Like before, they had to pit at the end. That's why Alonso ended up finishing behind Latifi, but that was only because he just had to pit right at the end because his tyres fell off. Kimi did make it work. Kimi was like the only person I think that actually made it work. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Kimi the only person who did a one stop who actually gained from qualifying? Because Ocon went from 5th to 9th, Alonso went from 10th to 17th, Giovinazzi, I don't know where he qualified because I only watched the highlights, so I can't really remember. Leclerc, I can't even remember what Leclerc did, to be fair. But generally speaking, yeah, most of the one stoppers got done over, which is because again, how much of that is like I bring this up more for the Alpines because the Alpines both got into Q3. Ocon put it P5, which was amazing. Like Ocon's flying at the minute. I'm gassed for him. I'm really happy for Esteban. But it's difficult to how much of that Alpine just is poor race pace or just the fact that they did a one stop and it just wasn't the best strategy on the day, you know. Leclerc did a two stop. Yeah, I thought Leclerc did two stop. Yeah, Gio 14th to 17th. Yeah. And again, like Kimi extracted. I mean, he didn't crash into his teammate this time, which was good. Well done, Kimi. But yeah, shame for those one stoppers, wasn't it? Maybe next time. Mercedes strategy. I mean, we've already kind of talked about this. Big pog. Big pog from Mercedes there. And that was a difference today. We forget it's a team sport. Like Paddy Lowe says it himself. It's 50% car, 50% driver. And it's not just the car either, it's the strategist. Like you can't expect with the drivers, everything that's going on in their head, you can't expect drivers to Paul, how am I salty about Alex losing his seat? Knobhead. Pog is my least favourite word. But no, they smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. Mercedes did what they needed to do. And this is why they keep winning. This is why they're so dominant. Because Mercedes are quality. Aaron, mates, you're far too generous. Thank you so much for the $30, pal. You're far too kind. Far too kind, mate. Anyway, we've already talked about Mercedes, so Tommo lost his cool. I'm fine. I'll call someone a knobhead if I feel I need to. All right. It's all good, all right? It's all fun. I've been called far worse than that, so don't worry. Azera, you'd think Perez had won every race this year listening to his fans, Lamel. Don't poke the Mexican bear, all right? Red Bull was like, yeah, so we've kind of talked about this already, but are Red Bull bottling this? I saw, I think, someone put a tweet out asking this question. Are Red Bull actually bottling this? Because we could look back at the end of the year, because Red Bull tend to excel later on in the season. Maybe that's just because they start slow. Maybe it's just because the tracks towards the ends of the year favour that Red Bull, typically. But are they bottling it, or is this just Mercedes stepping their game up? Because the thing is, there have been these small mistakes, and with Mercedes, you can't afford to make these mistakes. And when I'm saying Mercedes, not Lewis, because it's not just Lewis, it's Mercedes, like the whole team behind it. Was it Aldas? Of course it was. Of course it was. My small Gordon Ramsay looking friend. RB got out strategized. But it's weird to me that the fact that GP literally said, like literally on the radio, it was like, oh, it's going to be like Hungary 2019 again. It's like, yeah, where you lost. Like, am I missing something here? Like the fact that they literally said it. Like, just, I don't get it. I don't get it. And thank you again, Aaron, for another $5, mate. You're far too good to me. Far too good to me. And obviously the slow pit stop. Well, the slow pit stop was more Max's fault. But again, this is another example. This is, okay, so it's Max coming in, obviously a lap early for a pit stop. They still managed to get him out in 4 seconds. But that could have been a 2-second pit stop. So they lost 2 seconds there. Like, you don't know how much, like, maybe that 2-second gap would have meant that maybe they did something slightly. Like, there's just all these little mistakes. Although, actually, talking to pit stops, shout out to the Alfa Romeo mechanic who clocked that the medium that he was about to put on the car was flat. So he started, like, punching it. That was jokes. But shout out, because that would have been a massive L if they'd sent Giovinazzi out. Instead, they had a 35-second pit stop. So it wasn't really much better, really, was it? Thank you, Daniel, for the €2, my friend. Was there really no hope for Red Bull? I think Red Bull could have played it differently and won. I know afterwards, Christian was like, we couldn't really done anything. But of course he's going to say that. Come on. He's not going to show weakness. He's not going to admit, oh, we cocked up. All right. I think they could have won the race. Definitely. I think hindsight's a beautiful thing, though. It's easy to say that now, but is what it is, you know. Thank you, Yusuf. For the tenner, mate. Very kind of you. I'm new to the sport, so take this with a grain of salt. And I can't help but notice that Red Bull are always somehow trying to guess what Mercedes' next move instead of dictating their own style. It's a good point. I think part of that is because they don't have a second car to work the strategy around. Mercedes have got 2 cars that are always up there. Again, as much as slam Bottas, right? But he's always up there. There's a reason it's Verbot Ham or Ham Verbot or Bot Verham or whatever, right? I said that one twice. Because, like, they can use Bottas. Mercedes can use Bottas for strategy. And Red Bull haven't been able to use a second car for strategy since Daniel Ricciardo. And with Daniel Ricciardo, part of the reason Daniel left was because they were too close, because they crash into each other. You know what I mean? So, and that's why Bottas fills that second seat role so well. And that's what's kind of frustrating, because, like, obviously he's a racing driver, he wants to win titles. But obviously from Toto's point of view, he's like, nah, Valtteri, just you're fine. Just stay here and just be a nice second driver, okay? Because then Mercedes will keep winning titles and Lewis will keep winning drivers' titles. So, you know what I mean? It's difficult. And Max said it, you know, himself after the race, like, without having that second car yet. And Max knows this. Max knows that his position, his chance of winning is weaker when there's not another Red Bull up there. And that's why he wants there to be another Red Bull up there. Whether it's Pierre, whether it's Alex, whether it's Sergio. I don't think he really cares. As long as he's got another driver up there that can help support him. And I think Sergio has the best chance. I think Sergio, as the season goes on, will start to get more up there. But right now, He hasn't been able to do it. And which is, again, understandable because it's a new car, 4 races in. And it's a tricky car. We know it's a tricky car. But yeah, mad. And then we haven't talked about really Lewis, have we? Because I like to, whenever I do these, I want to like finish these bits because then I'll just do some random questions and stuff at the end. It's easy to look past Lewis. Lewis didn't put foot wrong, really. I mean, Max got a better start, a bit more rubber that side, made the move. Lewis didn't crash into him, and then kept like Lewis's tyre management goes massively underrated. Massively underrated. But the man's crazy. The man's ridiculous. Lewis Hamilton is an insane, ridiculous driver. Okay, he's quality, and he will win number 8. I'm very sure of that. Partly because he's so good. Partly because Mercedes can play the strategy games that Red Bull can't. Like you say, Youssef, like they can react. No, Red Bull have to react, whereas Mercedes can be proactive. You know what I mean? Thank you, Paul, as well for the $4.99. It's all good fun. Not bad. I'm joking, Paul. That's my term of endearment to you now, mate. Azaria. Question is though, would Gasly or Albon be better than Perez right now had they not been dropped as early as they were? Well, Gasly was only given half a season. Albon was given a season and a half. And Perez is 4 races in. I don't think that... It's impossible to say with Gasly because Gasly's results didn't look like they were improving. But you got to, like, when Alex came in to replace Pierre, Alex straight away was doing a better job than Gasly had done for the rest of that year. And that's why they kept Alex in the seat, obviously. If it had done worse than Gasly, they'd have put Gasly back in. But then Alex's performances just didn't, meet the standard. I think it's right now that I think Alex would probably be about the same as where Sergio is now. But the thing is, Sergio's going to keep getting better. And then we'll be like, because again, it's 4 races. So I'm confident Sergio will get better eventually. But will he be... I mean, you just got to think that 2022 Red Bull, whatever it looks like with the new regulations, has to be an easier beast to tame for the team, not just for Max. But anyway, that's the overview. We'll go back to the results. Let's say who haven't we talked about here? So we talked about Lewis, we talked about Max, we talked about Carlos. Carlos had a reasonable. Can you hear Hannah coughing? Brilliant. Carlos had an alright rate. Again, this is what I mean. Like, new man, new car, and because look, the only comparison you can make. The comparison you can make is to your teammate, and Charles is quality, and Carlos isn't a million miles off. But also he's doing better than Seb was in that Ferrari. I think that's clear as day. Already he's jumped in and seems much closer to Charles than Seb was, which I think's that's not to even have a pop at Seb. That's more just to shout out Carlos, because I think Carlos is doing a phenomenal job. Very good job. Hank, if Merck sign Ocon next year, do you see Red Bull poaching Russell? Merck signing Ocon, I don't know. That seems a bit bold. But maybe. Is Russell Ocon the Merck lineup for the future? I don't know, because it's like... Obviously, Ocon is Alpine. I think, as far as I understand, Toto still manages him. It's difficult, isn't it? Because Ocon is doing a very good job. And that's what I mean. That's why I think people were very quick to... We need to give drivers time. When Daniel got into that Renault first season with Nico Hülkenberg, he struggled. He had bad reliability, of course, as well. But it took a long time, especially on the brakes. He took a long time to get used to how that car slowed down. And he needed that first season. And then the second season, he was on it and he was performing really well. And then Ocon had a year out of the sport, was reserve driver for Mercedes or whatever. Then comes back into Renault. And obviously you've got Daniel Ricciardo, whose quality has had a whole season at that team. Ocon's jumping in after a year off. Of course he's going to get beaten. Like, come on. He's young. He's not got anywhere near the experience of Daniel Ricciardo. He's had a year out. Daniel Ricciardo's got a year. Like, obviously that was going to happen. And the fact that towards the end of the year, that gap started to close, that's what gave me the confidence to be like, Ocon's going to be really good this year. I think he's going to outperform Alonso. And he is so far. You know what I mean? He's doing it so far. But in the same way that you have to give Alonso time to get used to the Alpine. And of course, again, this is why for me, it's not a surprise that Ocon's beating Alonso at the minute. Because, well, yeah, Alonso's had 2 years out of the sport. Yes, he's got loads of experience, true. But he's getting into a new car that Ocon's been driving for a whole year. So it shouldn't be a surprise that he's beating Alonso at the minute. As the season plays out, though, as Alonso gets more comfortable, then Alonso will beat Ocon. Give him time, you dickhead. That's what I'm saying, Juan. That's literally what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, Alonso has to get more comfortable with the car. And by the end of the year, I think it'll be much closer. But I still think, overall, I think Ocon will edge it. Thank you, King Savage, for the 99 Canadian cents, my friend. Thank you, Yusuf, again for the £2. Monaco predictions. Oof. Ferrari's going to be good. That's my prediction. Ferrari's going to be up there. Ben Rao, thank you for the £5. Lando had a lackluster week. Do you think McLaren can do good at Monaco? Thoughts on Lando in his season, potentially finish near or above Charles? I mean, again, Lando set pretty high expectations based on his first 3 races. And he still finished P8. So, all things considered, it's pretty good. Like, really. Come on. It's pretty good. Still. Gassy. I think the McLaren just didn't seem to excel. The Ferrari seemed to have more pace at Catalunya. But, Catalunya and Monaco are very different tracks. And I haven't quite wrapped my head around what cars are good at what types of tracks. Because it's impossible to say, really, because you could say, oh, well, the Alpine is really good at this type of track, but then they'll bring in some upgrades and then that will make them better at a different kind of track. You know what I mean? So it's an ever-changing thing. No, like, pretty much, unless you're a Haas, right, where they're not developing the car at all, like, every single race, there's going to be slight differences to every single car. So, and even the same cars, like some, Stroll got new parts for his Aston Martin last week. Vettel didn't, and then Vettel performed better than Stroll. So, you know what I'm saying? Thank you, Pujith. Thank you, Rahul. Pujith Rahul, for the 20... I still don't know the currency, I'm sorry. And thank you, Emil, for the 10 knocks, mate. That's a great currency, knock. N-O-K, love that. Go down through. So yeah, nicely right. Ocon we talked about. Gasly, the AlphaTauri's been a bit. Is it the AlphaTauri's just not on the pace, or is it that? Because Sonoda has struggled. People were like gassed about Yuki at the start of the year. After Bahrain, they were like, Yuki's gonna beat Pierre. I was like, hang on a minute. Like, I love Yuki, all right? I love him. But, no. He's got raw pace, but he's not the finished article. He's raw. That's what Yuki is. He's raw at the minute. He's got that potential is there. Like when Verstappen first jumped into Formula 1. Like, that potential is there. But he needs to be given more time to mature as a driver. I think he'll be quality. I do think he'll be quality. Aldas was waffling. Yes, Aldas did say that. I'm going to pull him up on that. And then Lance again. Lance made a great move. Oh, actually, I want to shout out Sergio's move on Ricciardo. That was beautiful. Beautiful. What a move that was. Stunning move around the outside. The fact that it was so late and it went round and Ricciardo played ball like that was so good. Puget, mate, do you think people should stop comparing Alex and Checo because Checo has 10 years experience compared to Alex? No, true, but still, like, Perez is driving the car that Alex would have been driving this year. Perez is driving the car that Alex was driving last year. So, of course, they're going to get compared. Like, you can have all the experience in the world, but they're still just two human beings racing the same car around the same track. And one is going to do a better job than the other. You know what I mean? So I think that's why the comparisons happen. But it was always like Red Bull have always kind of played it a bit risky, chucking rookies into this Red Bull seat and, you know, sink or swim. And too many have sunk, unfortunately. Verstappen has swum, very much so, but too many have sunk. It's Krona. Is it Krona? There you go. Thank you. Norwegian Krona. Happy days. Bradshaw, thank you for the 499, mate. I can picture this in the next few years. Ocon and George to Merck, Gasly and an F2 driver, Joe, to Alpine. It's funny how, though, like, not being funny, right? Not being funny. And again, like, I'm a big Ocon lover, right? I love Esteban. But let's go 4 races back. 4 races, which is not many. Right, let's go back to the before Bahrain at the start of the season. If someone put that right on the internet, Ocon and George to Mercedes, right? Or if someone even hinted the idea of Ocon being in a Mercedes, everyone would have, oh my, like literally, if I'd have put that on Twitter, I would have been absolutely destroyed, right? If I'd have said Ocon to Mercedes before this season started, I would have been absolutely destroyed. And now, people are like, oh, okay, maybe. And look, we're fickle, all right? And it's difficult to, I think we can't make judgments too early, okay? It's 4 races. Ocon's had a strong start, yes. But I think that, do I think he's going to get a Mercedes seat? No. Do I think George is better than Ocon? Yes. If you ask me. But I love Esteban. And I'm gassed to see him doing well. Thank you, Hugo, for the €5 as well, by the way. Appreciate you, mate. I can't see if you put a message. It doesn't show. But anyway, Kimi did a great job. The only person ready to make the one-stop work. And Kimi is still low-key smashing it. Apart from when he's smashing it into his teammate, obviously. It's just that. Vettel, again, another... Just... It's difficult to gauge, isn't it? Like, Stroll generally has had the measure of Sebastian so far. But again, is that a surprise? No. Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. Like, Stroll's had lots of time at that team now to get settled. Seb is coming off a very difficult season at Ferrari in a very difficult car, low on confidence. Of course, like, Stroll's going to be beating him. Will it turn around? I hope so. But we'll have to see. Gio is outperforming Kimi. I would agree with that. I would agree that Gio's got the measure of Kimi. But Kimi is just consistent. You know what I mean? Kimi's just consistent, I think. Mr. Consistent. George, yeah, obviously P14. Latifi, yeah. Alonso, again, out to stop the one stop. Mick Schumacher. Mick had a great start. I mean, the discrepancy between Schumi and Nikita is massive. And it's weird because I'm surprised it's as big as it is, because as much as, yes, Mick won F2 and yes, Mazepin finished 5th, like Mazepin still won like a couple of races. Like the guy, I think the guy's a wanker, right? But the guy has clearly there is some pace there. There is some talent, okay? I think it's packaged up in a pretty shit human being, but there's talent there, right? There's ability. But he seems so far off. He seems so far off. And it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. And I'm not even talking about all of the, blocking people on their, like blocking Sergio, and it's just whatever. Twat. Oh, hello, we got some. Oh, Hugo. So, hi, Tom. What do you think about no Canadian GP again this year? Istanbul comeback. Will it be like Portugal hype because last year then bad race? No, I think Portugal's a better. Sorry, I think Istanbul was a better track than Portimao. I'm gutted about Canada's my favourite circuit, so I'm gutted about that. But Istanbul is quality as well. Siddharth, do you think Russell is wasting his life at Williams? I don't. I've actually got a video coming out soon where I talk a bit about Georgie boy at Williams. So keep an eye out for that. Do I think he's wasting his life in a Williams? No, I don't. All I will say is when the new technical regulation changes come in, Williams... Right, let's say 22, tech regs come in, everything changes, and Williams become a McLaren, all right? Kind of top of the midfield. Very plausible. New investment, all these new personnel with very good CVs in motorsport come in and make Williams good. I think George could be convinced to be content staying and battling at the top of the midfield. He started at the bottom. Now we're here. Into the middle. Into the fight. Wait for Lewis to eventually retire. And then boom. In. Boom. Boom. Because as much as, I've slammed Valtteri, it is working for Mercedes as things currently stand. So I'm just talking. All right? I'm just saying things. Thank you, Alex, for the $5. Do you think people are being too pessimistic about F1 right now? I mean, if Max was winning by the same marginal differences, people would not be moaning. Well, look, I think it's a combination of factors. I think this season's, like these first four races this has been the strongest start, I think, to a season in terms of entertainment for a while, if you ask me. After these first four races, I think these first four races have all been like, this is probably the worst of the four, but it was still good. Like, it was still a 6, which I think's like above average. Like, all right, it was all right, it was good. And you know what I mean? I think because Lewis has won so many, and people always like, it was the same when Seb, in 2013 when he won his 4th title, everyone was like, oh, this is so boring, Seb winning all the time. It was the same when Schumacher was dominating. It was the same when anyone dominates, like people get bored of it. It's like when Bayern Munich win the Bundesliga all the time. People are like, oh, it's so boring that just Bayern win it all the time. Or when Man U were winning the Premier League all the time, it's just boring. Like, you want that. You don't want dominance, really. You don't want dominance in the sport. The individual who's actually, enjoying the fruits of their labours, Lewis is more than happy. But at the end of Lewis acknowledges this as well. He's loving the fact that he's got this real battle because he's getting the best out of him and he's enjoying it. Because, again, a championship that just comes easy can't feel as good, as satisfying as one that comes difficult. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. If you've really had to put everything and you just about edge it, that's what made 2008 so mad. You know what I mean? when Lewis won right at the end. That just made it so much more than if he'd just won the championship by 100 points. Anyway. Sorry, I'm just getting a few donos I haven't read out. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all. You've stuck around. 2,500 of you pretty much still here. You weirdos. You absolute weirdos. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Aum, for the $5 Canadian, mate. Good morning from Toronto, a week later. Thoughts on Sainz and Ricciardo battle anytime during the Chinwag? Yeah, I think Sainz and Ricciardo, obviously, two drivers who've been doing well and, both in new machinery. Sainz seems to have taken better to the Ferrari than Ricciardo has to the McLaren, but I think Ricciardo is still a better driver than Sainz. I think Ferrari or McLaren, I think Ferrari will probably edge it in the end, but we've got a long way to go. We've got a long way to go. But I think Sainz has been massively impressive to me. I think Sainz is chronically underrated. I really do. Again, I tweeted this. I didn't know edged was a bit of a saucy word, but apparently it is. Because Sainz did edge Lando points-wise. Thank you, Paige. I appreciate that. Welcome to the Chinwag. But yeah, and we know how good Lando's on fire at the minute. Carlos was up there, pretty much on par with Lando. There was really very little between them. They were the only real close driver pairing last year. And then I think he's gone into that Ferrari that was a tricky car and still is a tricky car, and he beat Charles in qualifying. He's gone in straight away, and Charles is unreal. Charles is different gravy. Sainz did. What? I didn't know edge was this kind of word, but whatever. Oh dear, your minds disgust me. Thank you, Naveem Kumar. Russell and Ham in the same season. Oh mate, you didn't have to donate twice. I'm sorry, man. I was just getting through the backlog. Russell and Ham in the same season will be tough for Mercs. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Again, Toto. As long as Bottas is doing the job, Mercedes will be happy to keep hold of him. I guess now's a good when Bottas put up that defence against Lewis trying to get past, it was just a bit, I just felt a bit sad. You know what I mean? I just felt a bit sad for him. He's tried to kind of, oh no, I'm not going to let, and Lewis just went past him. And it was just Valtteri, Bottas, yes, Bottas. All right, there's no T's in his name, for crying out loud. Yeah, it was just a bit unnecessary. Did he do it to try and prove a point? If he was trying to prove a point, he didn't prove the point. But it's a difficult situation for Valtteri to be in, because he does need to, if he wants, which he clearly does. He's a racing driver. He was so good in Williams, and he's just come in. And the fact that, again, this is like Barrichello at Ferrari. You've spent your whole life winning all these junior levels, been this incredible racing driver, and you get to Formula One, and then your teammate is one of the best of all time. And then it's just you're the second driver, and then you just got to deal with it. And it's peak. It's peak for him, but he needs to and he just doesn't seem to, he was saying himself in the race, he just didn't have the pace of Verstappen and Lewis, and that's because I just don't think he's as good a racing driver. And sometimes it is just that. And that's not because Lewis and Max are on another level, and I think hardly anyone, I don't think anyone's as good as Max and Lewis at the minute. You know what I mean? But anyway, sad times. Thank you, Skellett, for the 20 SEKs, or SECs, as you could put it. Odds of an egghead race ban in 2021, 2 points in 4 weeks. the thing is, like, we can... Obviously, his pace is well off, okay? But ultimately, he's not, like... He can still drive the race car. Like, he keeps it going in the right direction, like, 95% of the time, right? I don't think that's so much of, like, an issue. But the fact that these transgressions, these blocking blue flags, these, you know, keep happening... I feel like there needs to be like there's a point, isn't there, where it just becomes like, right, this is actually like, if there's no sense of development or moving in the right direction, because like not blocking someone isn't like, that's not tied to your, like, you could be the fastest driver in the world, but also never like acknowledge blue flags. Like, and it just feels like it's getting too much for me. And I'm not even thinking, like, this is nothing to do with all the, you know, the fact that I don't think he should be in the sport in the first place, regardless of that, not even considering that. Just looking at, right, that driver, without, take the name away, just that driver, rookie coming in, that far off the pace, again, okay, fine, he's a pay driver, that's what it is. But the fact that he just, in 4 races, he's made so many transgressions already, then, like, if it carries on at this rate, he has to get a ban. He has to, surely. But anyway, Nathan, predictions on who will be at the top of the table after 22 regulations? Any new teams? I think Williams are going to be the team that make the biggest step up, Nathan. I really do. Just the moves that they're making, where they are now, where they're like right at the bottom, I think they're going to make the biggest jump up. But literally, it's like impossible to say. Who knows? Thank you, Rag, for the 100. Do you expect any Indian Formula One YouTuber coming up the scene? It's a good question. I haven't actually. So I try my best to kind of keep my ear to the wall in terms of like YouTubers and content creators and that. Hang on, what's this gone? Oh yeah, there we go. And I haven't come across any Indian YouTubers, Formula One YouTubers specifically. But I think that's I think India is it's in my top 5 biggest audience segments, and a bunch of you've very kindly gifted me, which I do appreciate. But there's such a big market, obviously, because there's so many of you. So I really think, like, particularly in, like, I think there should be more, you know, I want to see more American F1 YouTubers. Obviously, we've got people like Cranky, you know, flying the flag. There's a few others knocking about, but, like, that would be sick. Indian, African, like, North Asian would be sick. Like, anywhere that the sport is, I feel like, and I'm sure there are some already. I mean, I know there's a couple of big French ones, which is sick, but that's what I mean. I think there should be, like, I'm doing my thing in my little part of the world, right? My little segment. I mean, T series of F1. Oh, brilliant. And next one. Oh, thank you, Naveen, again, mate. You're far too kind. Thank you, Lily, for the $5 as well. Big up. Rosalie, thank you for the $5. At least the midfield fight was entertaining near the final laps. Good point, Rosalie. Yes, it was. Well, that was because Fernando did a great job holding the cars behind him for as long as they did, but his tyres just fell off, as did Russell's. But that was a good little battle, because even with that, it's still difficult to actually get past. But yeah, Gasly managed to creep up. I thought Stroll was going to get in the points, and then Gasly almost caught Ocon at the end, which again shows how badly that one-stop strategy failed Esteban. Went from P5 to P9, which was sad because he could have got a better result out of that for sure. I think his pace showed it. Thank you, Barat, as well, for the 200. If Alpha changes next year, AlphaTauri, who do you think they should retain? Oh no, you you spelled Alpha like AlphaTauri, but you meant Alfa Romeo. Who do you think they should retain? I think Gio's doing a good enough job. I do. I really do. I think he's doing better than Kimi right now. Kimi has part ownership of that team, but Gio's seat is a Ferrari Academy reserved seat, as far as I understand. Giovinazzi's future in Formula One depends on Alfa Romeo's future in Formula One. That's what I believe. I think Alfa Romeo, Italian brand, Italian driver, Italian team. I think that is the crux of why Gio's still there. But I think Gio, because of the opportunities that's given him, because a lot of people were surprised. I was surprised that he stayed on this year. But the more, again, this is same with Stroll. Lance Stroll is now a very, very competent Formula One driver. I think that's undoubtedly, right? He made a quality move on Alonso yesterday. And as much as when he came in, he wasn't very good, he was given the opportunity. That's what comes from being a paid driver. You're given those opportunities. And he took them and he's improved and he's become a very solid driver. Joe's almost 30 and still, he's not almost 30. He's like 26, isn't he? Something like that. Stroll is a competent Formula One driver. Come on. I didn't say he was amazing. I said he was competent. But anyway, thank you again, Lily, for the $5. If Mazepin is thrown out next year, do you think we might see a female driver for a change? I think there's a couple of good prospects making their way up. I think it's one of them that, you know, I want to see everyone in Formula One based on ability. And we know that doesn't exist. We know that finance is the biggest kind of way of getting in to Formula One if you don't deserve a seat. And I think that we will definitely see a female racing driver in Formula One one day. I think the W Series Cup, because if you didn't know, W Series is going to be supporting a lot of races this year. And I think the exposure that will get being as part of the F1 calendar will do a lot for encouraging female participation at lower levels. And we just need to, but for real as well, I just don't think we've not seen a female driver at the caliber needed to get into F1 on merit yet, because it's because there's far fewer females competing. You know, this is what I always say. Even if you tick every privilege box in the world, you're rich, you're white, you live next to a go-karting track, you've got parents who are prepared to plough everything. Even if you tick every single box, the chance of you getting to Formula One is still very, very small. Very small. And then if you take a smaller subset, this is why someone like Lewis, someone like Esteban, these guys, because they didn't come from vast wealth, it was so much more unlikely for them to make it. Whereas someone like Nikita or Nicholas or Lance, you know, they had the privileges to get them to where they wanted to be. But there's going to be loads. There's plenty of other Lance Strolls and Latifis and Mazepins who had all the money and had all the support, but never got to Formula One. You know, so it's. But I definitely think one day we will. And again, like seeing participation with the W Series now, I think we'll do a lot, like long term, for sure. But one day, I've got no doubt. Thank you again, Ben, for the £2. Thoughts on Latifi? Will out-qualify Russell this season? No, I don't think. I think race pace Latifi's closer, but Russell's a very, 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 very good driver, and Latifi's okay. I think that's the difference. Thank you, Aaron, as well, for Aaron Aronson. What a name that is, Aaron Aronson. Brilliant. €2. Shame they didn't focus on Perez versus Rick. It was sick. Good little battle. Daniel did that's what I mean. Daniel did a great job holding off Sergio for as long as he did. So I think that deserves a lot of credit. Thank you, Will, for the £2. I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing good. I am doing good. And thank you, Nog, with the 2 chuffs. Do you think if Max put the hard on, he could win? So I'm a child. I think Red Bull could have played the strategy better and could have won that race, but they didn't. So there you go. All right, I'll do a couple more questions in chat now. I'll go back to main screen so you can see the full. Not that there's much here. I want to get some stuff in the background. It'll be out of focus. I'm just going to scroll through chat and then answer some random questions. Oh my God, Anders. Hello, Tommo. Greetings from a Norwegian oil platform. Loving the channel. Do you only watch F1? Loving the Extreme E Series 2. Highly recommended. Thank you, Anders. On a Norwegian oil platform, mate. That's mad. Credit to you, mate. I imagine you're away for long periods of time, right? Because my mate's dad used to work on an oil rig. So I kind of know from that. But, I mean, in terms of motorsport, for me, it's F1 and then rally. I love rally. And I enjoy like touring car series, whether it's like DTM or like BTCC or WTCC or whatever. But rally is my main thing outside of the formulas. I like IndyCar as well. I want to watch a bit more IndyCar because I feel like I've enjoyed what I've watched of IndyCar for sure. But yeah, thank you, Anders. Do I think Ocon is a pussy? I want to meet Esteban. I think I'd get along well with Esteban. I think he'd be my kind of guy. Winner at Monaco. I mean, it's hard to look past Lewis, isn't it? I just feel it is. I just feel it's always hard to look past Lewis. Mr. EC Football, do you think Ocon or Russell could go to Aston Martin when Vettel leaves in a few years with Toto having a share in the team? I mean, that's assuming Vettel, because Vettel's only like 32. So Vettel's still got years in the sport if he can pull it around and get back to the heights that he was at. Okay, because Toto's got shares. I think he's still got shares in Williams as well, actually. And then, yeah, we know he's invested in Aston Martin. But I think that's more like just the Aston Martin. I don't know if that's the race team or the Aston Martin. Like I've actually got some shares in Aston Martin now. When Stroll bought them out, I was like, yeah, I'll stick a few £100 in Aston Martin. Pretty good return so far, but that's the stock market is a volatile thing. How's the dog? He's good. Minton is good. He's not here. He's staying with my mum at the minute. While we were doing the move, it was like, right, mum, Minton, he can stay with you. But I'm going to go get him on... Actually, because I'm out all day with Veloce tomorrow. And then Wednesday, I'm going to get him. I have shares in Cognizant. Nice. Oh, God. How long am I... Hour 20... How long have I been streaming for? Hour 17 minutes. Mad. You lot are still here. You lot are still here. I can see the numbers going down though. It's fun. I don't mind. Thank you, Naveen, for the 40. Do you think Valtteri and Red Bull if Russell joins Merck? Nah. I don't. I think if Russell... I think Valtteri would go to... That's what I feel like, honestly. I honestly feel like 2022, Williams will be decent. Like, they'll be like midfield. And then swap Russell, Bottas. Lewis will already have number 8. He relishes the challenge. We know this. I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. The English kid. Do you think Mick will be in an Alpha next year? That's a possibility. That is a possibility, definitely. That could definitely be a thing. I think Mick's doing... It's very hard to judge, isn't it? It's hard to judge him, but I think he's doing all you can expect him to do at the minute with that Haas car. And the fact that he's been able to, get ahead of Latifi a couple of times, like, I think he's doing a solid job. Because that's the thing. Mick is better than Latifi. Like, come on. Yeah, yes, I know Mick's got his name, but he won that F2 title on merit. Mr. Consistent. He's very quick. It's in his genes, hello, there's a few more. Will Thomas, thank you for the 5, mate. Do you think that despite Red Bull being more competitive this year, both championships are ultimately a foregone conclusion? I do. I think if Sergio was able to get up to speed with the Red Bull quicker, then I think they could potentially challenge for constructors. But I think it's going to take too long for Sergio to get... I think he will. I think he will get into the stage where he's battling Bottas. But we haven't really seen that yet. And all the time that he's getting used to the car, and you've got to remember Lewis and Valtteri have been in that car for a very long time. Consistency is important. You've got two drivers there who know those cars very well. Perez has just jumped into it. So I think that's going to get in the way of constructors. And then I think, again, the strategic battles that Mercedes can play just leaves them in a more comfortable position, doesn't it? Clorox, mate. I still find I can't believe you just rep Clorox. Do you get paid by Clorox to be called Clorox Bleach on YouTube? Thank you for the $2 mate. How much longer will Lewis stay in F1? This is what I mean. I don't know. I feel like he's been making noises. I think I saw a BBC article today saying that Lewis wants another extension. You know what I think? I think my opinion on this, right, is what's happened is that Lewis has got his 1 year extension to keep his options open. He's got a lot of, he's got his fingers in many pies as Lewis, right? His fashion stuff, his environmental stuff. And I think we've got into the season and he's loving it. He's clearly really enjoying the racing at the minute because he's having to work for it. And I think that extra fire in him that he's getting from the racing, I think that is going to make him carry on, even if he wins number 8. My opinion before was that he was going to get number 8 and leave, but actually now, looking at it again, I've changed my opinion, which you're not allowed to do on the internet, but I have done, so don't at me. I think Lewis will stay regardless. I think he'll carry on. Nog. Again, another 2 CHFs. Top 5 drivers who could win the championship. Current drivers? I mean, Lewis, Max, Charles. Right now, probably not Daniel, just because he's struggling in that car. I mean, George is quality. Say all you want about his attitude and he's flown off, but he's still young. Like, drivers do this when they're young. But yeah. Video idea. Thank you, Nolan, for the $4.99. Top 10 liveries you hated, but now you've grown to like. Well, I'll tell you what, that's good. So the Williams, I still don't like it, but it's not as bad as it was when I first saw it. I have warmed to it, okay, slightly. So now this is like we got like freezing cold, and you got boiling hot. Right, boiling hot's great. Freezing cold's I don't know why I'm using this analogy. It was freezing cold, like terrible, but now it's like just cold. Uncomfortably cold still, but not freezing cold. But anyway, okay. Everyone, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. So thank you all for watching. I do appreciate you all watching and listening, supporting. Again, sorry I couldn't be here to do quali, but for Monaco, I should be, and should be doing another video out on Wednesday. I can't even talk. I can't talk anymore. New video on Wednesday, as norm. I think I want to test over the next couple of weeks, just doing one video a week. Still doing my live streams at the normal time, but just doing one video a week. Because I feel like YouTube might have started to punish the push out of videos. I don't know, but we'll see. Oh, some people are asking for Fantasy League. Okay. One last thing, we'll do Fantasy League. We'll have a push at my Fantasy League. Oh God, I can't talk. Fantasy. I had an alright week actually. Typically, obviously, as always, as soon as I change my turbo driver, the person I changed it from does worse, obviously, because that's always the way it goes. Okay, hang on a second. So what I want to do is go on here, and then, oh, there we go. It's up there straight away. Beautiful. Here's my, obviously Tommo F1 is my main team, and it is performing the best, which is always good. Okay. Yeah, I turboed Ocon, which I was gassed about after qualifying, but then obviously in the race, shame. I had Gasly as my turbo driver, and I should have left it on Gasly. I'd have got 26 points off him. But I didn't, so never mind. But all of my drivers firmly in the points. I'll take that. Although Perez turbo driver, minus 14 for Tsunoda. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Jeez. I didn't realise you could actually turbo. I mean, that's a bit cheeky, allowing a turbo. Wait, how did Perez get 46 points? He got the same amount of points as Ricciardo. That's weird. I thought he'd have been punished more for the qualifying. But anyway, that's my fantasy league. All right, you've all seen it now. All right, I'm doing. Hang on, how am I doing in my leagues? Hang on, joined. This is my league. All right, league code is here. Okay, let me just post the league code in the chat. Okay, I have made a league. League code's in the chat, everyone. If you want to join. All right. Why are you giving me terrible adverts? I don't want a Peloton. Leave me alone. Henry team 1 smashing it. What's Henry's team? God, you can't buy me. What's Henry's team? Turbo driver Lando 58. Wait, what? Wait, I'm looking at Bahrain. I was looking at the. I'll use an MD on Lewis. Fair. I mean this is a team. This is a team. Oh, Ferrari as well. Henry, mate, you're smashing it. But yeah, this is my team. We're done. Thank you again, everyone. Big up to everyone who gifted as well. Much appreciated. And yeah, new video on Wednesday. I will see you then. Thank you, everyone. The code should definitely work. I literally copied it. Make sure you got lowercase for the F and the C. So it should work. But yeah. Ciao, adios, everyone. Been a pleasure as always. And I will see you on the next one. Adios. I am done.